Today we are reviewing Dr. Mona's Food Combining Basics. Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before I jump into the video, just a quick reminder that I'm now offering the SIBO organic acid stool tests and consults via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video. So to start with, it should be noted that Dr. Mona is a pharmacist and not a medically trained doctor. And according to her website, she has 0 credentials in nutrition or nutritional science. So essentially, she is not qualified to make such claims, but let's jump into the video and see what she says.
When we're talking about food combining, there are different food categories. We've got fruits, we've got fat, we've got protein, and we've got starches. Now, some foods obviously have both protein and fat, or some foods, are starch, but they also contain a little bit of protein. That's okay. When we're talking about these different food categories, what I want you to remember is we're thinking about how they're digested in your stomach.
Okay, for a start, you don't need to be thinking about how the food will be digested in the stomach. If you've got a healthy digestive tract, then the amylase, lipase, protease, stomach acid, pancreatic enzymes and bile, and all of the other digestive processes are an automated response in the body. So you certainly don't need to be thinking about anything.
I want you to picture your GI tract kind of like a conveyor belt or like train tracks. So if there's one thing in front, nothing else behind it can pass. So the order in which you eat your food, like let's say your food is all the different little cars or trains on it, really matters.
I'm sorry, what? If there is one thing in front, nothing else can pass? Did she actually really just say that? So Dr. Mona, let me let you into a little concept called peristalsis. So you start eating foods, it triggers the release of enzymes and acids, and then peristalsis ensues. So peristalsis is a series of wave-like muscle contractions that move food to different processing stations within the digestive tract. Peristalsis begins in the esophagus, and then it continues in the small intestines, colon, and all the way through to the rectum and anus. So this one thing in front of the other thing and nothing else can pass thing is a bogus and weird claim to make.
So for example, if you eat something that's digested really slowly, let's say it takes hours to digest, and then right after it you eat something that's digested really quickly, this one's going to be taking its time through your GI tract, and this food is just going to like speed up. They're going to interact. They're going to just kind of cause chaos in your stomach. You're going to feel that bloatingness and those bubbles and that gas and that popping, just all the bad stuff. And that's when you're going to feel really tired. Like that feeling can really drop your energy.
So again, to make the claim that unless you are eating food separately, it's going to make you tired and bloated is ridiculous. Digestion is like a house of cards. You pull one out and everything else comes crashing down. If you don't have sufficient stomach acid, then it won't trigger the release of pancreatic enzymes or bile, for example, and then it is likely that you'll run into gas and bloating issues as the food is not being correctly digested or broken down. But this has nothing to do with the fact that you are munching on a carrot with some avocado. There are literally tons of issues in the gut that causes gas and bloating, food intolerances and sensitivities, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and gastroparesis, to name a few. None of these issues are caused because you are not combining foods correctly.
This is why I always stress have fruit in the morning for breakfast before you eat anything else, because I'm trying to simplify it for you. I don't want you guys to have to go through your day, especially if you're starting out, and think like, how many hours has it been since I've eaten this? Can I have fruit? So just as a good easy rule, have fruit in the morning. That way you'll limit your sugar intake anyway.
So Dr. Mona says that eating fruit in the morning is good because it reduces your sugar intake throughout the day. So the World Health Organization recommends that your sugar intake of free sugars should be less than 10% of your total energy intake. And just to clarify, free sugars are sugars that are added to foods. So fruits are not included in this 10% because health organizations around the world know that the presence of fiber within fruit regulates the speed at which sugars are absorbed. So to make the claim that eating fruit later in the day is potentially somehow bad for you is ridiculous.
This is also a good tip to think about when you're out at restaurants or even at home, when you think that fruit for a healthy dessert is healthy. It's actually not, which breaks my heart a little because I love fruit and I don't want to make it difficult for you. But I would really avoid fruit after meals. Stick with it in the morning and like a green smoothie and you're good to go.
So another baseless claim with no scientific evidence to support these claims. How on earth is eating fruit after a meal going to cause an issue? As I have already said, there are diseases and issues in the body that cause gas and bloating and digestive issues, but these have zero to do with the way you are combining foods.
When you want to have protein, protein takes about 4 hours to digest. The biggest no-no is combining a starch and a protein, okay? I want to just give you this little example. When you eat a protein, your body releases certain gastric enzymes that make it acidic. That's what you need to break down protein. You can look this up. This is a fact. You need an acidic environment for protein.
And out comes another one of those absurd claims, and this is perpetuated a lot within food combining camps. So these people will say that starch somehow reduces your stomach acidity levels, which is a massive problem when combining protein with starch, as proteins need a super strong stomach acidity level to cleave apart the proteins. So let's give Dr. Mona a quick 101 of digestive biochemistry. So gastric pH levels are controlled by the parietal cells in the stomach that secrete hydrochloric acid to liquefy the food in the stomach, so there's a maximum surface area to be exposed to the multiple digestive enzymes that the food will encounter in the small intestines. So despite what Dr. Mona is trying to suggest, the order of the foods that we eat do not control our stomach acid levels. So while it is absolutely true that pepsin requires an acidic environment to be activated from its precursor form, starches have no properties that will increase the pH of your stomach. Dr. Mona also suggests that you need an acidic environment to digest protein. Again, this is another ridiculous statement, as a high proportion of protein digestion takes place in the small intestine, which involves the secretion of bicarbonate-rich pancreatic juices, and for these pancreatic juices and enzymes to be released in the small intestines, then you need an alkaline environment. So your gut is dynamic, so depending on what part of the digestive tract you are talking about, there are lots of fluctuations between acidity and alkalinity. So these statements that Dr. Mona and others in the food combining movements make are laughable.
When you eat starches, they release a different kind of enzyme, which makes the environment alkaline. So think about when you have a positive and a negative and they combine. Obviously, it becomes neutral. This is the same thing for if you have an acid environment and an alkaline environment, they neutralize each other out. Then all this food just doesn't get digested at all.
So again, more absurd statements. So the body has different digestive enzymes, and these digest different classes of nutrients, and all of these secretions are released regardless and with disregard to what you have eaten. Even if you were to eat a teaspoon of pure sugar, your body would still release fat and protein digestive enzymes as part of the digestive process. So again, I don't know what Dr. Mona is thinking by making such statements.
And lead you to get bloated. So I know it seems like, oh, it's not the end of the world if I have, protein with a starch, but I really highly recommend looking into this. This is like years and years of research and studied medicine. Definitely separate these food groups.
So I also really highly recommend that you look into this. Nearly everything that Dr. Mona has suggested in this video is scare tactics rather than scientific facts. There is nothing, literally nothing in the scientific literature that supports the theory, and yes, it is the theory, that humans should be following a food combining diet for optimal health. There are certain diseases or illnesses that can be better managed by the reduction or elimination of certain macronutrients, but this does not apply to whole populations of people like Dr. Mona is trying to suggest. So that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.